Our next guest here on the morning show has performed on and with and on the road and with tens of millions of people enjoying their music over the years. We're so happy and proud right now to be joined live on the morning show, one of the greatest drummers in rock and roll history. We're talking about the man that invented glamour drum playing. Am I being too generous, or is that the truth? Should I keep going? Brett, what are we playing? What song is that?
Vinyl, You Keep Me Hanging On.
The extended vinyl cut of You Keep Me Hanging On, Carmen. Carmen has a brand new book out. We're holding it in our hands. We read it. It's called Carmine Appice with Ian Gittins. Stick It. His life of sex, drums, and rock and roll. It is quite a story. From teenage gangs in Brooklyn to one of the greatest rock and rollers of all time. You know what I like about your book right off the top?
The name.
What's that?
The name. And
yeah, the name is good. It definitely fits the whole attitude of my life.
And also, getting Rod Stewart to write the foreword on your book is really a feather in your cap. Rockologists, a lot of people out there, they know about your drum playing, but they do not know about your songwriting capabilities and what you've written and what you've done behind the scenes in the music industry. And your book, Stick It, talks about it all. To Mom and Dad, Nicholas, Bianca, and Leslie, you dedicate the book. That's absolutely wonderful. The book's available right now, and we'll tell you where you can get a hold of it. There are so many different people who gave you such wonderful praise for the book, like Max Weinberg, Brian May, Paul Stanley, Ted Nugent. You were with us about 6 or 7 years ago when you were playing up here. You had a gig that you were doing for a church. That was back when, you remember your radio show, Where's Carmine Appice Today?
Yeah.
It was back then. It was a church on Route 23.
It was the Church of the Nazarene.
An Italian from Brooklyn, just like the drummer from Kiss.
Pete.
Yeah. Are you buddies with him?
Yes, I am, actually. When I read his book, it was very similar upbringing as mine. Same with Ace Frehley, same thing in the Bronx.
You guys all know each other behind the scenes. In your book, it starts out fast, gets faster in the middle, and it crescendos at the end. It's an easy read. It's a fun read. The picture sleeve that comes with the hardcover, the photographs.
Right.
One of the most revered and innovative drummers in the history of rock and roll, and that's you.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome, Carmine.
Especially this hour of the morning.
Where are you right now?
I'm in New York City.
Are you currently playing anywhere, or are you just concentrating on a book tour?
Next week we leave with Vanilla Fudge to go to Nevada, and then we're playing in New Hampshire and Cape Cod. And we end a little 4-day run in Long Island at Burns Park for a free show out in Long Island.
Amazing.
On the 23rd of July. And then we just got back from playing Sweden Rock Festival with Vanilla Fudge and with my 80s group, King Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Europe started out with King Cobra in Vegas, then we went to Spain, and Spain to Sweden, and Sweden to Helsinki, and Helsinki to London, where I did a 3-day promotion for the book in London, for England. That's where I met Rod. Was just crowned a knight, Sir Rod.
Yeah.
That's why I found that out while I was in England. It was perfect timing for the book, because he was all over the news there, and everybody that talked to me, the big news was Sir Rod.
Wow.
Forward.
Carmine, why the book and why now?
Well, it just so happened now. I've been writing this book since 1982. The timing of everything, I kept putting it on the back burner, and then someone would come up, and a manager or somebody would say, "Hey, look, I think I could get you a book deal, maybe if you're interested." And I said, "Yeah, I'm interested." And then something would happen to make it go on the back burner again, And then finally in 2008, when I had written the book with a guy, and I went on VH1 radio as a promotion, and they said, "Oh man, you got great stories, you should do a book." And I said, "Well, I have a book." When I gave them the book, they didn't really care for the writing. They really liked my character, and they liked me as a personality, and they loved the story. They gave me a book deal. They turned me on to a new writer, the guy that wrote Nikki Sixx's book, The Heroin Diaries.
That's right.
And his name was Ian Gittins. So we started from scratch by doing interviews. We did interviews in London, in Madrid, New York, and And basically, by the time we were done with the book, it would have came out earlier, but then VH1 Books went out of business. So then we had to get a new deal for the book. And then it took, once we got the deal again, then it took, about a year to really get the book packaged up and ready to go.
Your book, Stick It, starts out with you as a Brooklynite, and then it has a parallel story, not unlike Tommy James's story, where you have a connection with the music industry and the mob.
Yeah. I read Tommy's book. I thought it was a great book. His mob ties were really, really tough.
Dangerous.
These guys ran his life. Our manager was a regular dude who was a real estate investor and very smart. He mentored me every day, because he told me how real estate is wealth. He said, this is what you got to get into. And all my life I bought real estate because of him. But he had ties with the mob. Henry Hill and Paulie, the Don out of Long Island, all that crew used to come to his club and hang out all the time. And that's why we met him. We got involved with them, but they didn't run our lots.
Yeah. The book is called Stick It, Carmine Appice. Carmine, you're known for, and maybe were one of the first drummers to do the stick flips and the big kit. You were a show among a show. How did you become that kind of drummer?
I had idols. My idols were Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich at the time. And Gene Krupa was the master showman. Everything that he did, it was very, very showy, as well as being a great drummer. Use that as my base, and I wanted to try and be the Gene Krupa of rock. And one other guy that I really loved at the time was Dino Tonelli, who was another New York guy. He was a little older than me, and I saw him play in the clubs. And he used to do, stick flips also, but he used to do it differently. But his idol was Gene Krupa also. It all really came from Gene Krupa, all the showmanship stuff. And the big drums and playing hard and heavy and all, that just came from necessity, because at the time all the amps were big. Even the organ had a lot of power with two Leslies and all that. And I had to do something to
be heard.
Bring the power of the drums.
Carmine, have you been classically musically trained?
Well, I did study, and when I went to school, I majored in music. I did play in the orchestra. I played in the school band, the marching band, and all that. I did play, a bunch of classical music with the orchestra especially. I did that for like 3 years in school, as well as taking private lessons that would incorporate, classical snare drumming, like timpani and the bass drums and the cymbals and the triangle, all those classical percussion instruments that they use in the orchestra. I was actually the percussion leader in school.
We were talking yesterday or the day before yesterday, because I believe it was Jeff Beck's birthday yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
You have a really good side story about Jeff Beck in your book. Back in London, Bruce Wayne introduced us to a city center private member club called Speakeasy. It probably held about 300 people, and the time was hip. It was a hip hangout for major bands, singers, and anybody in music. And this is the first time you noticed Jeff Beck. What'd you think when you met Jeff Beck?
Well, it was all cool because he was in the Yardbirds. The Yardbirds they're still very famous. They had Clapton go through there, and Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck. And Jeff had the look of the Yardbirds, a mod look kind of thing. And it was a very cool experience to meet him. And then we used to jam together and at the Speakeasy, and it was a lot of fun to play with him. And then we became friends, and eventually played in a band together. And still know I got a crazy email from him the other day, and after his birthday, and it was weird because I sent him a happy holidays back in December, and. In the book, there's a chapter called Baker, Fogert, and Appleseed.
Yes.
Right? So I knew it was him because the email just said 2 words, said, "Hey, Appleseed." But it was dated January 2016, and I got it 2 days ago. I don't understand how that happened.
Technology.
It's crazy. I'm going to be up in your area, I think on the 30th. Doing a book signing at a place called Books and Greetings.
Yes.
And I'm glad that the weather is nice because I'm I'm going to test drive in North Jersey and Paramus a Jaguar F-Type sports car.
Nice.
I tried to do it last night, but it was rainy.
Route 208 is a great highway to test drive one of those Jaguars on. Smooth and hilly.
Yeah, the guy told me, it was actually a fan, the guy I met over the house. He just walked into the Jaguar place, and I started looking around. The guy came up to me and said, "You're not a drummer, are you?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Carmine Appice?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, he flipped out. You know, he was a sales guy. So he said, "Man, we'll take it for a good ride. You know, I want you to really feel the car." Because I've also test driven a Maserati. That was amazing. You know, I love cars, you know, as you can tell by the book.
Yes. Hey, let me ask you this question. This is in the book, and it's riveting to read it and to realize where you've been and what you've done. Chapter 4. This business is full of sharks. While the fudge had been getting huge in the United States, our old friends the Yardbirds had been splitting up in Britain, and Jimmy Page had been busy assembling another band. We didn't know too much about this other band until we had to pay to have them open up for us. What band are we talking about?
Led Zeppelin.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and you know what's really unbelievable is the fact that I found out in 2002 that we paid for half of their fee that night. Vanilla Fudge.
That's in the
How
book.
about that?
I dropped the book when I read that. I couldn't believe it.
Man, I couldn't believe it. When I played a gig with Vanilla Fudge and Mountain in Denver, 2002, and the promoter, Barry Fay, who's been a friend of mine since the 60s, he said, "Hey, by the way, do you know when Led Zeppelin opened for you? I didn't really want them because we were sold out, you know, but the other band on the bill was Spirit, funny enough. They just won their case against. And it was amazing. He said, I didn't want them, but you know, your agent kept forcing them on us and ended up saying, look, you pay half and Vanilla Fudge will pay half. I said, well, I didn't know that.
It's funny stuff, and looking back in retrospect, it's real informative for the fan. Whether you're a passive fan or a huge rock and roll fan, this book is awesome. You just mentioned Led Zeppelin and Spirit. How do you feel about that lawsuit? I mean, this isn't covered in the book. What do you think?
I thought it was bull.
Right?
I'll tell you the truth. Because those are, and, you know, I've written a lot of songs, and those are just an A minor descending chord pattern that you play on guitar. When you play it on guitar, those are the notes that come out.
That's right.
You know, when you pick it, you know. And when they told me they were suing, I said, first of all, why 40 years later? You know? Why not in 1974 when it came out? You know, 40 years later, it just seemed like it was, you know, somebody looking for a handout, you know. And I'm very surprised.
Well, it looks to me...
I'm surprised and happy that Led Zeppelin just, you know, they went through as far as going to court. They didn't just say, hey, you know what? We don't want to go to court and get the bad publicity. Here's a couple of $1 million. See you later.
That's right, and that's what they were banking on, and they banked wrong.
Yeah, they did, because they actually went to court, and the judge found them not guilty, and I agree with him. Matter of fact, when I just did BBC World News Television in the UK, I had 8 minutes on there, and 3 of the minutes was spent talking about that, because the story before mine on the TV show was that story about Led Zeppelin and Spirit. So I was able to talk about my book, and we spent 3 minutes or more talking about the Led Zeppelin case, which gave me a lot less time to talk about my book, you know, which it was pretty funny, but I said the same thing, and here it is that they won the case. So
most of the time, right. Listen, most of the time when an artist like you takes the time to put down some private moments, private thoughts about a storied career of being one of the greatest drummers of all time, they don't take the time to unveil some wonderful pictures that are in their book. You have you have in the middle or the last third of your book some beautiful pictures of when you weren't the drummer yet. A Little League uniform.
Yeah. Did you read the caption under that?
As a kid, I thought baseball was cool. Now I'd sooner watch grass grow. And you know what? When you watch a baseball game that's 3.5 hours long on TV, that's pretty much what you're doing. You're watching the grass grow.
You know, I never was into sports. You know, my son, who's now going to be, going to be 25, he got me into basketball the last 15 years, or something like that, maybe 12 years. And we would go to basketball games, and they were exciting, you know. And then we went to, somebody gave me tickets to go see the Dodgers in L.A. And we went, and we both, by the sixth inning, we were both my son turned to me and said, "Dad, this is boring." I said, "Yeah, it is." I said, "It's like watching grass grow." And we left.
There's beautiful pictures of your family. You used to go on vacation in Lakewood. What did you have, a house in Lakewood?
We had a bungalow in Lakewood, and that's the youngest one there is my little brother Vinny, who ended up being, Black Sabbath and Dio.
Right.
Heaven and Hell and all that. And that was that was probably 59, 1960, something like that picture.
We're with Carmine Appice, one of the great drummers of all time, Vanilla Fudge. He has a book, just came out, Stick It. He'll be appearing very soon. We'll tell you where he's appearing and how you can meet him. But first, I'm dying to find out, whatever happened to the Three Beats? The Three Beats, and tell them who the Three Beats were.
Oh, my God. The Three Beats was one of my first bands. It was spelled with 3 E's. And, we had these wild lippet jackets, which came back in style when I was with Rod Stewart. And unfortunately, one guy, the guitar player, ended up committing suicide.
Yeah.
At a young age. And the other guy, keyboard player, Bobby Spinelli from Brooklyn, who had an awesome childhood. His father was an insurance broker. He had a beautiful house on Bay 13th Street, a block away from the water, right on the other side of the Belt Parkway. And always had a really enriched childhood. And now he's in Vegas, and he's living on Social Security. He's got a lot of ailments. He can't get a job. I mean, it's terrible. A lot of times I help him out. One time he called me up, and he doesn't have a car. He rides a bike. His bike broke. So I sent him money to buy a new bike, and sometimes send him money to help pay his bills, because he's just a nice guy. He just ran into really a lot of hardship,
Carmine, that's what makes you somebody that if somebody's path crossed through the show business days, they're very blessed to know you. Here's a guy we're spending time with right now, Carmine Appice, drummer for one of the greatest rock and roll bands, a guy that was on the Ed Sullivan Show. 50 million people saw you play the drums on the Ed Sullivan Show.
2 times.
Twice. And you're taking care of a very good friend of yours from 1963 who's on hard times. Who else would do that?
Well, there's actually a lot of guys that would do that, But the problem is a lot of guys lose track of all their childhood friends. I mean, I have a few people that I know from, my childhood that I see once in a while. Bobby's one of them. Another Bobby that lives on my block in 14th Avenue in Brooklyn. One guy from school, a couple of guys from high school. But
you grew up a Met fan or a Yankee fan?
I wasn't either.
Yeah, no
baseball.
baseball.
I was into sports. I was never into sports.
It was a snooze
I was into drums. Everything was about drums for me when I was growing up,
Now, you go into some personal details in your book, Stick It, and you share with us some beautiful pictures and stories about your family, your own father, your kids, Bianca and Nick, and somebody very special in your life, Leslie. And the book goes into your different escapades after Vanilla Fudge. It's such a wonderful read, and it has a happy ending. And the happy ending is that you're here, you're with us, you're still playing, you're on the road. I'm sure through your years of show business, 45 plus years, you've seen a lot of heartache, and you've seen some of your friends pass away. You've been through the drug thing when you've seen that happen with people. You've seen the music business from the ugly side. You've seen the fans go wild. You had the mobs mobbing you, Ed Sullivan, big shows, big acts opening up for you before they were big. You've seen it all, and you've done it all. Out of all of that, what is your highlight from a personal aspect of your career?
I would say it's really hard to pick one highlight, but if I would pick one era, I would have to say it might be the era I played with Rod Stewart, because that era was such an amazing time. I mean, we traveled around on our own private plane. We played 5 nights at the Garden, 6 nights at the Forum in L.A., 4 nights at Wembley. I co-wrote Do You Think I'm Sexy, which was @1 in the whole free world. And I co-wrote Young Turks.
That's right.
Rod taught me a lot about songwriting. He taught me a lot about image, a lot about... At the time, I was the leader of doing drum clinics, education for students, which I wrote a book that sold a lot of copies. But Rod would tell me to make an event out of each clinic, not just a little clinic. So I learned a lot from Rod.
Where did you come up with the title, Do You Think I'm Sexy?
Well, he came up with that title. But if you look at all the songs that were written by Rod Stewart, most of them are everyday titles. Forever Young, Every Picture Tells a Story. Hot Legs, Do You Think I'm Sexy? You're in My Heart. Tonight's the Night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all like sayings that people go, hey, tonight's the night, man. You see a chick or she says, do you think I'm sexy to you? I mean, it's just everyday sayings. Hot Legs, Passion, Ain't Love a Bitch. These are all like everyday sayings, reasons to believe. So he just came up with a storyline. He was a great storyteller in songs. Come up with the storyline of, everybody thought at the time that he was saying, do you think I'm sexy? But listen to the lyrics. It's just a story about 2 people meeting and... My
heart is beating like a drum because at last I got this girl home. Relax, baby, now we're on our own.
Beautiful stuff. I mean, the opening lyrics, she sits alone waiting for suggestion. He was a master songwriter, using great lyrics to tell the story.
Carmine, where is your book signing? We're talking with Carmine Appice. Stick It, My Life of Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. It's your brand new book. You're going to be in our listening area for a book signing. When will that be and where?
That is the 30th at Books and Greetings at Northdale, New Jersey. I know that. It's on Livingston Street or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be at 7 o'clock, Thursday the 30th. And remember, I'm just going to be coming from test driving a nice Jaguar F-Type, so I'm going to be pumped up.